ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and can I welcome all the people that are now tuned in to our live stream. Welcome you all on to into Buloke Shire for our Australia Day Awards event. Council remains committed to building a healthy and active community. As highlighted in our council plan, and I've got no doubt there's quite a number of you in the room that have had input into your local plans as well as the council plan, and we thank you for that. Events like tonight, where we are celebrating achievements and spending time together, are vital for the health and for our health and our well-being. This Australia Day, Monday the 26th of January, each of the towns across Buloke will host their own unique events, offering a chance to celebrate community spirit, culture and national pride. From local ceremonies to fun-filled activities, there's something for everybody at these events, most in the morning and one in an evening. Many of these events will feature inspiring guest speakers, offering insights and reflections on what it means to be Australian. We encourage each and every one of you and take along a friend as well to get along and attend and support these local celebrations. There's people, you've got your local forums and progress committees that put a bit of time into setting these up, and they not only highlight the achievements and values of our communities, but also provide an opportunity to come together in unity and celebration. And while that gets bandied about a lot, it's a very important part of being in the bush and being together in smaller communities where we can support each other and help each other out. So make sure to check out your town's events and be part of that special day. And I did see some flyers floating around with those events listed on them, so if you haven't got one of those, you may well get them. They're printed on Facebook and will be in the local media. I'd now like to call and invite our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bernadette Hogan, to come forward and introduce our guest speaker for tonight. So welcome, Councillor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's my privilege to introduce Associate Professor Dr Monique Watts, a proud Charlton local whose roots in this community have helped shape her lifelong commitment to regional health. Growing up in Charlton instilled in Monique a strong sense of service and regional pride. Today, she is a highly respected cardiologist and heart failure specialist, practising at Epworth Freemasons, the Alfred Hospital and Victoria Heart, as well as serving as an Associate Professor at the University of Melbourne. Monique is nationally recognised for her leadership in women's cardiac health and is the founding clinical lead of Australia's first multidisciplinary women's heart clinic at the Alfred. Importantly, she has remained deeply committed to rural health, recently establishing East Wimmera Health Services' first rural cardiac clinic right here in Charlton, bringing life-changing specialist care closer to home for Buloke residents. Monique's journey from Charlton to national leadership in cardiovascular health is truly inspiring. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome home to Associate Professor Monique Watts.
Thank you, Councillor Hogan, for the lovely introduction, and thank you to Dan, councillors and the executive team for the very kind invitation to speak. What a privilege. 27 years ago, I had the great honour of being a guest at a similar ceremony. I was the proud recipient of a joint Citizen of the Year award here in Charlton. It was shared with the members of my high school debating team. We'd had a bit of success and put Charlton on the map. I was 16 and considered myself a little bit of a rat-bag teenager, and I was humbled by the award. I remember thinking that it must have been slim pickings for them to turn up my name in 1998. Again, I'm humbled by the kind invitation to be here today. We'll not ask whether it was slim pickings to find a keynote that's significant. So just as the little voice said inside me in 1998, these people believe in you. What will you do with the opportunity? I asked myself this when contemplating what to say tonight. Somewhat selfishly, I want to say thank you for raising me and for welcoming me back as a cardiologist and professional, and as Dennis and Glenda's daughter who hang about the town with their kids on school holidays. I also want to share with you some of my journey, the way that the lessons you taught me, the values that you showed me, gave me the skills to achieve my dream and help a whole lot of people along the way. Because what better time than Australia Day to be reminded of the richness and depth of your community, the incredible grounding and the opportunity that you provide to your youth. For someone who was here, who went away and came back, you have something truly special in your life. I'm the daughter of farmers, so I learned very early to pray for rain, watch the horizon for smoke, and to always lend a hand even if I didn't really want to. Whether it was feeding sheep, watering trees, tailing lambs, sweeping up after shearers, there was always something to do. I saw that a good plan and many hands got the job done, and that the job should always be done properly the first time. The rewards of helping as a child were always there, whether it was yabbying, swimming the dam, learning to knock tin cans over with a slingshot, or around a spotlighting. And I didn't realise until I had my own children just how unique our rewards had really been. As I grew up on the farm though, I realised that rewards weren't always a given. I watched farmers work from dawn till dusk, and in harvest, from dusk until dawn, make the best of considered decisions, do as much right as they could by everyone. But if the season wasn't right, if it didn't rain, if it rained too much, fire, flood, frost, locusts, there was less or no reward. This was a tough lesson. The more important one was though that you don't stop just because there's no reward. You go again, you try harder, knowing that the reward will come eventually. These lessons served me well in my study, again later in my career and my life. Over the years though, the rewards have changed, and I'll talk more about that later. Life in your community was very busy. Your sporting clubs taught me the value of working together, with the working bee at the start of the season, and then of competing hard, but fairly. Learning to win with humility and lose with good grace was important, because in the Buloke Shire there was always something bigger at stake than what was on the scoreboard. For my opponents were also friends, people I encountered down the street on the school bus. They were teachers and parents. It kept me accountable. Being a good sport here was more valued than being good at sport. The winning and losing, of course, extends off the sporting field. And doing it well for me only became more important. To be humble on the days when I win and save a life, and to be reflective but outwardly calm and empathic on the days when I lose. And to always remember that no matter how much the loss of a patient disappoints me, hurts me, angers me, saddens me, it's always more impactful for the patient's family. So keep it together, Monique. In between all the sports in Charlton for me and the farming, there was school. I didn't mind school. I was comfortable in the classroom and got a buzz out of doing well. From being sent to Mr. Stallard's office as a preppy for doing year one work, and having Mr. Burnett shake my hand, that same hand, in year 6, and look me dead in the eye and tell me I could do anything I wanted with my life. The teachers here have encouraged and rewarded students who strived. They patiently put in time and were endlessly accessible in ways that my city colleagues cannot comprehend. Charlton College didn't have astronomical tuition fees, an entrance exam, a posh uniform, or a line of BMWs and Bentleys at drop-off and pick-up. The kids came on foot, by bike, or in my case, on Basil's dusty school bus. The big kids sat up the back, the little kids sat up the front, and you learned very early not to turn around to look at the kids behind you. This was my first lesson in hierarchy, which served me very, very well when I got to the Royal Melbourne as an intern. I recognised pecking order and knew exactly how to handle it. The playground at times proved trickier for me. The game of mean girls started very early in primary school and finished late in high school. We were unkind to each other, but variably targeted and affected, and none of us completely innocent. It was heartbreaking and so impactful for longer than I'd care to say. But, as always, there's a valuable lesson to be learned. I learned the impact that women can have on one another. This became useful later. I also learned that sometimes the only way is to find another way. When I was shunned, there were other kids, new opportunities. all that would have gone unnoticed if things had spun a different way. When I was elected school captain by my peers, I had to give thanks to that cold shoulder that inspired me to look beyond my friendship group to the rest of the school. Being able to leave my comfort zone and step out into the unknown proved a vital skill and opened doors that would have been nailed shut otherwise. Among these opportunities, working in a remote community in the Northern Territory, joining a surgical unit in India, and working on the medical wards devastated by HIV and AIDS in Africa. I had no companions when I started out doing this either, but as it turns out, some of the very best experiences and adventures start out alone with just one foot in front of the other. I was alone in wanting to do medicine as a Year 12 student in Charlton also, and I made myself more alone by not telling most people. I knew it was a tall ask, and I was fearful of failure. What would everyone say? But secretly, the idea of being challenged with problem solving every day and having the ability to help and heal, as I'd seen Dr. Walkley and his team do many years, was a dream. Did this farm girl from Buloke have what it would take? Who knew? I didn't even know what it would take. So I just gave it my all, like I'd been encouraged to do on the sporting field, in the classroom, and like I'd watched all of those farmers do, season after season. It wasn't until a couple of years later when I was visiting a school with one of my medical student colleagues, his school in Melbourne, when I realised the stark resource imbalance that existed in our country and education system. As I looked out over the impossibly green and manicured football oval of Scotch College and the beautiful old world buildings that oozed prestige and academia, I thought back to the Year 12 portable where I'd spent my time. I thought, it wasn't a miracle that I got into medicine. Someone's made a mistake. I don't belong here. But I've since come to realise that old world academia, posh uniforms and nice grass do not make good students necessarily. They don't make rounded individuals necessarily. They don't even necessarily make good doctors. Grounded kids with a work ethic and a can-do attitude and the desire to make a difference, they're the ones you need. I didn't need anything different to what I had right here. Most people don't get the chance to realise that. I hope you do. Not so long later, I was schooled on what resource imbalance really was. A misdirected email that was meant for Year 6 medical students hit my inbox at the beginning of the second year. Outreach to Aboriginal communities during semester break, 3 to 6 week terms. Reply here. Quality adventure seeking, boundary pushing, trying to play the hero and save the world. Who knows, maybe some of all of it. But I hit reply with the message. Yes, please. I'm only second year, but I'm sure I can do this. How do I make it happen? I flew into Alice Springs on a plane with alarmingly small propellers. My first time on a domestic flight. We had mandatory cultural education for the first week, all put up in student accommodation together. Learn to understand the customs, the social challenges, how not to offend the locals or embarrass the university. I don't remember much of that, but I made some friends with like-minded kids, including a dear friend called Ali. There was no Buloke Shire in his past. He'd migrated with his parents from Iran during the Gulf War when he was 8 years old, after watching bombs go off at the end of his street. When he arrived, he knew not a word of English and chuckled when he recounted the confusion of a little Muslim kid dropped into religious education in a Catholic primary school. Despite the fact that his mum, who was a doctor in Iran, and his dad, who was an engineer, worked in factories in Australia because their qualifications weren't recognised, Ali loved our country. And in particular, the Australian cricket team, the Socceroos, and the fact that there were no bombs anywhere. But everywhere there was opportunity to be safe, to be educated, and to be productive. This was someone I could learn from. Ali was shipped off to Tennant Creek. I was headed to Think. Think was a dry community about 4.5 hours south of Alice, but you couldn't reach it by road during that time of year, so I was dropped in on the weekly mail run by plane with one very small propeller. Population 120, 6 of us were white. There was no hospital, no doctors, but there was a medical centre with a pretty clever nurse called Rin. Initially I was disappointed that there was no bustling hospital or traumas or emergency surgeries, but my friends who'd experienced this recounted stories later that were more traumatic than inspirational. I soon learned that all the medicine in the world wasn't going to fix the people in Think. I learned how to treat a staph boil without antibiotics and the futility of this when the patients went straight back to the same staph-infected sheets and beds and I learned the importance of a stable family unit for any child. The family units were big, but from what I saw, too often fragmented. The kids were curious about me though, and I wanted to connect with them, and footy seemed a great way, because they had a footy oval, much like the one at Charlton Park, except the dirt was a deep, dark red. There was a white line around the outside, but there was not a blade of grass to be seen. Fortunately, the rules of kick to kick are pretty universal, and I had plenty of practice at halftime of the senior matches in the North Central Footy League. And these little Indigenous kids loved the fact that some city girl, white city girl, could kick a footy. Manika, they'd call me. Manika, kick to me. My favourite memory was when one of the boys, who was about 13 or 14, approached me with an overused footy and eagerness in his eyes. Hey Manika, I show you how to screw, eh? Sorry, what? I show you how to screw. And he picked up the ball, turned it on a 45-degree angle, nose slightly down, and kicked the most beautiful torpedo up over the dust and through the white posts. I said, we call that a torpy where I come from. Still makes me smile, a beautiful moment born out of the ability to kick a footy, thanks to the Buloke upbringing. A less happy memory, but one that I used as inspiration, was a kid called Jefferson. I was playing catch with a few of the younger girls one afternoon after work when I became aware of a bigger boy making his way towards us. I was a bit wary and asked the girls who he was. Turns out he was one of their cousins. He moved towards us in a way that wasn't quite right, a bit disorganised or unsteady. My little medical brain went into overdrive. Was it cerebral palsy? No, didn't look like that. Was he intoxicated? Didn't look like that either, and we're in a dry community, so how? He clutched in his hand a tin. Maybe once it had soup or baked beans, I don't know. I couldn't see what was in it. But as he came closer, I could see his hands tremoring uncontrollably, and the smell of paint was unmistakable. It took me a moment to figure out what was going on, and then the hopeless sadness of the situation dawned on me like a rock landing in my stomach. Hey mate, I said, are you all right? He didn't answer. He kind of looked towards me, but not directly at me, and his little cousin answered for him. That's Jefferson. He doesn't talk much. How old is he? I said. 17, she said. And that crashed on me too. My little brother was 17, at home in Buloke. He was working his way through specialist maths with the dream of being an aerospace engineer that he later realised. The contrast between these two kids, born in the same country, under the same government, still doesn't sit right with me. I went back to my accommodation that night with sadness and a whole new level of homesick. I learned many things from Think. Among them, that social structure was more important than medicine, and that as a doctor, I couldn't fix everything. I wouldn't be the hero. I found my medical skills similarly useless when my turn came for 50th medical elective. For reasons that to this day remain unclear, I decided to head to India, having never been overseas before. I set up a 6-week placement in a mission hospital in southern India, in a place called Mysore. The hospital was staffed with mainly male doctors who looked fairly sceptically at my sari and toe rings, which I was told to wear to signify that I was married, which I wasn't, of course, but the cultural study had been that if you're a young white woman travelling in an area with few tourists and white women, you should signify that you were married. Our first ward round through the intensive care I was quite excited for, but it seemed to involve almost exclusively young male patients. They were lean and fit and athletic looking, but they were all in various stages of organophosphate poisoning, pesticides. They were requiring regular injections of atropine to keep their hearts going. I looked at my travel companion quizzically. We'd never seen this before, and we'd almost finished our medical training in Australia. The English-speaking medical lead didn't give us a chance to figure it out. He turned on my friend and quizzed him about the management of organophosphate poisoning. My friend provided a textbook response from the Oxford Medical Handbook. First, decontaminate the patient by washing them down. The team snickered, and then just looked annoyed. It wasn't until later that I found an ally, a nurse my age, and asked some questions. These were young farmers in irrecoverable debt. They were drinking the organophosphates to ensure their demise, so that their debt would be removed. I suddenly understood the disdain that I sensed on that walk round. A couple of cocky Australian kids, calling themselves almost doctors, were completely blind to the torment of these patients and this aspect of farming and their country. Turns out farming's tough no matter where you are. The days in the hospital were pretty sad. Medical care wasn't free, but this was a mission hospital, so the patients were Christian. If they were Christian, they could be cared for free. The kind-hearted nurses would, under the cover of darkness, find as many crucifixes as they could and drape them over the patients so that they would get free care because of their newfound faith. Maybe Medicare wasn't so bad, I thought. Again, though, it was the kids in India who were the best. They played cricket like you've never seen anywhere in the world. Every street seemed to have a game of backyard cricket going on, and these kids could play. Most of them spoke English and usually about 5 other languages. And they'd let me play after establishing that my language skills were laughable. Their amusement at a white girl being able to play cricket usually kept them interested for long enough for me to have a bit of fun. They'd say to me, "What's your mother tongue?" "English," I'd say proudly. "What's your father tongue?" they'd say. "English." This was usually met with giggles. How dark, one language. One time my irritation bubbled up a bit and I fired back at this kid who was about 3 feet tall. "Why, what's your mother tongue?" "Hindi," fired back. "Father tongue?" "Konkani." And as if anticipating what was coming next, he fired off about 4 different languages: Tamil, Telugu, Tulu, and of course if I added on English, which little genius was clearly proficient in, that was 7 languages. He wasn't even 7 years old. He had no shoes, and like most of the kids there, looked like he would use with more than one good feed. My irritation gave way to humility. "You're a clever little critter, aren't you? Let's see if you can bat as well as you can talk." There was no posh uniform, no manicured sports oval, but this kid had skills, both with the bat and his language, that I'd never had, and an enviable desire for human connection. And he was happy with his lot in life. There's a lot to be said for that. I could learn from this kid too. The most valuable work I did in India was reparation of cleft lips and cleft palates. Little kids who were born very disfigured could be transformed. It was life-changing. Maybe I thought I could be a surgeon. But surgery was not for me. Back in the cold, hard, privileged and very proud fluorescent hierarchy of the Royal Melbourne Hospital surgical theatres, egos were big, pecking order was steep and non-negotiable, and everywhere I looked there seemed to be a surgeon who was critical, patronising, cocky, and altogether completely unlikable, worse than even the hairiest, scariest kid up the back of the bus on the Ewan Green Run. I didn't really care what these surgeons' hands could do or teach mine to do. I couldn't find anyone here that I aspired to be like. The fact that they were so lauded was confusing. This is not how I was raised to be. These jokers would have been laughed out of Buloke. So I ducked out of as many theatre lists as I could and spent my time on the wards, ensuring my patients had enough pain relief, their wounds were dressed, and their loved ones were kept up to date. When it came time to decide which specialty path to take, I knew surgery wasn't for me, but there was a great deal else to choose from. But early experience forms us. And as a junior doctor at the Royal Melbourne, rostered on for 120, 140-hour fortnights, attached to a little pager that would beep just as often as it wanted to, with the new time-critical demand, the code blues were the worst. It means medical emergency, unresponsive patient. Now, Harry Brindley had taught us Dr. ABC in the stadium at high school, and really this is the nuts and bolts of running any code. But doing it calmly, while someone's loved one is dying in front of you, steep challenge. The first few hundred times, were utterly terrifying, as the panic of everyone else in the room fed my own. Emotions are infectious, and I didn't enjoy being terrified. I also didn't like the shame that I felt when I wanted to walk as slowly as I could, so that I wouldn't be the first doctor to code. So I decided to master this scenario. Found some extra classes, made a point of spending time in the emergency department, where there are plenty of crashing patients, and being able to learn as much as I could. It turns out that being able to restart a heart is rather empowering, as is being the voice that brings calm to a room of panic. And so I mastered resuscitation so that my instinct when a code blue went off was not to dawdle while the hearing rushed, but to genuinely make haste so that I'd be the first one there, and I could ensure that this loved one would make it. After some good outcomes, I decided that hearts were for me. I had no idea that cardiology was a male-dominated field, with departments too often riddled with sexual harassment and training programs and career paths without any scope for maternity leave. I learned all that along the way. Did I see it? Of course. Did I experience it? Probably. I married a senior colleague, that wouldn't be allowed now, and I stepped sideways out of public practice with their big departments and female unfriendly policies to work in private practice. Private practice was an option with greater flexibility, but greater responsibility. My patients have one cardiologist. The buck stops with me. The wins are bigger, but the losses so much more devastating. There's no room for error and little inclination for forgiveness. And financially risky, a bit like farming, no steady paycheck. If the GPs trust and like you, they'll refer. If not, they'll refer to the guy next door. But this option meant that I could raise my babies, drop them to and from school, and spend school holidays with them, and be much more like the very present parents that I'd had the good fortune of enjoying. It also gave me the chance to find a really broken part of medicine and begin to heal it. Only 14% of cardiologists in Victoria are women, but we make up 51% of the population. Perhaps it shouldn't have been a surprise then when, in my early days as a private cardiologist, I was being sought out largely by female patients. I was often their third or fourth opinion, which was strange to me because I was still pretty junior in my eyes, and with a healthy dose of imposter syndrome, I assumed that these other cardiologists knew more than me. But the women were all kind of traumatised in the same kind of way. They all reported real symptoms of heart disease. But when my colleagues had gone looking and done all the right tests, there was nothing found. The women were labelled as anxious, hysterical, crazy, and sadly, some of them came to me half believing they were somehow self-sabotaging themselves and making it up. They'd been the others who believed themselves being disregarded, they reported being dismissed and disbelieved. They were various shades of confused, jaded and humiliated. They had nowhere to go and they were desperate. And just as I could feel the fear in those codes all those years before, I could feel the desperation. They were being shunned by modern medicine and had nowhere to go. I went searching for answers because there were none in what I'd been taught in my very fine 13 years of medical training at fancy buildings with nice grass. There had to be an answer because my patients couldn't all be crazy in the same way. What I learned was that in other parts of the world, there are entire clinics dedicated to women's heart disease, which presents differently to men's heart disease, but is just as deadly. Women are more likely than men to die or suffer heart failure within 30 days of a heart attack than men. Women are less likely to be prescribed life-saving medications by their doctors than men, and more likely to be sent home from the emergency department with a diagnosis of anxiety after having a heart attack. They wait longer for procedures in Australia and around the world. How could this be happening in Australia? And how could I, a woman and a cardiologist, be oblivious? I was letting the team down. So I attended a local conference where the leader of such an American clinic was giving a keynote. I was breastfeeding my youngest child in the back row of the lecture, and so I rushed her back to drop her off at my husband to hide any evidence that my career could be hampered, and then came back to the clinic to corner this professor. Could I pick her brain? Australia needs what she's doing. Noelle was her name. She invited me to have lunch with her and answer all of my questions, and left me with a spark that I carried all the way back to the Alfred Hospital. The head of department was keen to meet with me. He offered me a job with the heart failure and transplant team. I could be a soldier in their very fine army. This is what I thought I'd always wanted. Or I could do something that no one else had done. Something that might not be accepted, would be at best questioned, and at worst laughed down. I could start a women's heart clinic. I feel it's important here to say that this head of department was a bloke and incredibly supportive of me. His predecessor had said when I went on mat leave with my first child that I had nothing to offer the unit, implying that I was of no value and didn't need to come back. That hurt, a bit like the Mean Girls, and fed into my worry that I'd somehow tanked my career by putting motherhood first. This was a fear that would later, of course, be blown out of the water, but not without a few years of worry that I'd never catch up to my male colleagues, and that my time off raising babies had somehow made me less accomplished and less capable in the eyes of others. But just as, in a small town, worrying about what other people think is a sure path to futile anxiety, so is listening to the wrong people. So I listened to Noelle, all those people from my past who believed in me, and stepped out, did something different. The Women's Heart Clinic at the Alfred started with one cardiologist, no funding or patient base, but it grew through talking, meeting with people, showcasing a can-do attitude with a polite but clearly presented steadfast bag of evidence from my American colleagues. Dan Andrews toured our clinic during COVID. It's now grown to 4 cardiologists, a clinic nurse and a psychologist. We've seen over 1,000 patients. and published our experience and presented at conferences. This all sounds great, but honestly, it's the deep appreciation of those women that makes a difference. When I can say to them, I've seen this before, I know what it is, I believe you, and I'll help you. It's hard to beat. The best part of my job is that it's not about being smart. It's about trying really hard. Because the harder you work, the luckier you get. And in medicine, when my patients are the real winners, the harder I work, the luckier my patients get. And this brings me to the favourite part of my career. In 2018, I had 2 kids under 5 and just worked on the half days when my husband was home. I wanted to do more. Raising kids was fantastic, but in the inner city, it was very different to what I thought it would be and what I'd experienced. When I set out from Buloke all those years ago, my plan had been to be a country GP. I got sidetracked, as you've heard. But after approaching the local GPs here and the head of East Wimmera Health, I hatched a plan to practice out of the beautiful new hospital born out of the devastating floods in Charlton. My decision to work in private practice paid off here. I could work remotely in Charlton, supported by my practice in the city. My parents were on board with looking after the kids a few days every couple of months, and I was more than on board with my kids getting the chance to taste the upbringing that I had had and loved and see what the real world was about. I warned my parents though, you'll eventually hear something in the street that you don't want to, because the outcomes can't always be good, no matter how hard I try. I won't be able to defend myself, I can't tell you who I'm seeing or why. What if you hear something negative? But just as they had been all those years ago, when I suggested embarking on what seemed like a crazy journey of 13 years of medical training, they were right there behind me, believing in me. As was Trevor Adam, Ken Mulligan, Stephen Webb, Daniel Ower. Country people in Australia have a higher death rate from heart disease than city people, contributed to by poor access to specialist care and greater distance to emergency services. My work here has been just so rewarding, but also so enjoyable. Collaborating with your very skilled local GPs and having the benefits of the incredibly positive team at East Wimmera. Fran, Marissa, Mary, Maria and the team of nurses who assist me with ECGs and observations. The day working here is always a great day. And while the losses are so much harder to bear back here, we've had some really good wins. They keep us going, and I'm so very, very grateful for being welcomed back into this incredible community. I know there are challenges, transmission lines, mining, solar, fires, politics, but there are problems everywhere. The problem with problems is not that they exist, but that we expect them not to. But what I see in the face of these challenges in your community is you banding together to overcome them, not fighting amongst yourselves and blaming each other. What I see makes me proud to have been raised here and grateful to feel that I can still belong here. So, Buloke Shire, realise the treasure that you are and all that you have to offer. Find a young person, tap them on the shoulder and tell them that you believe in them. To the new citizens and award winners tonight, congratulations to you. These people believe in you. What will you do with the opportunity? Thank you for your attention.
Please again put your hands together for Monique. We'll now take a short break while we prepare for the next item tonight, which we all anticipated citizenship awards.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We've come to the Buloke Australia Day Awards part of our evening, where Council tonight sets out to recognise outstanding contributions to the community by presenting these awards for the whole of the Buloke Shire. Buloke has much to be thankful for, and the contribution of our local people is so important to our way of life. And I think we've just heard a bit about that from Monique, about how the contribution in her early days helped shape her going into the future. So, Community Event of the Year, Young Citizen of the Year and Citizen of the Year are our way to acknowledge outstanding service and contribution. Congratulations to all who have been nominated tonight, and can I say we had some great nominations. The people that took the time to prepare the nominations and thought about who to nominate in both categories of the people nominations and the number of entries that were nominations in the event was also outstanding. So probably thing to note in the event is that not all events that happen get a nomination, which is bewildering, I guess. But the ones that have been nominated were all outstanding. So I won't waffle. To present the 2026 Community Event of the Year Award, I would like to welcome up Councillor Charmaine Delaney and Councillor Bernadette Hogan.
Buloke is a hard-working community, but we also know how to enjoy ourselves. Across the year, countless volunteers work tirelessly to provide social opportunities through a wide range of events that bring our communities together. Tonight's nominees, and indeed to all our volunteers, sincerely thank you. The nominees for the Community Event of the Year are the 100th Anniversary Upmore Home, organised and run by Nollywood Historical Society and Nollywood Heritage Centre. Opening of the Many Creators, organised and run by Many Creators. Donald BNS Ball, organised and run by Donald BNS Ball Committee. Donald Show, organised and run by Donald Pastoral and Agricultural Society. Golf Australia, Trimex Victorian Sand Greens Championship, organised and run by Charlton Golf Club. Resilient Woman, Empowered Communities, organised and run by Buloke Neighbourhood Houses. Reardon's King of the Mountain 2025, organised and run by King of the Mountain Committee, auspiced by Calder United Lions. The Buloke Shire Community Event of the Year for 2026 is the 100th anniversary of Buloke.
From the group coming up, please. And we'll have a little bit of an explanation about why you're so great. Yeah, all come up. Whoever's here, up you get. Come on, Kaylee. That's a good idea. Yeah, all up. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about it. No, just stand right here. Right, okay. Everybody can see you. Just as well, we've got a big stage. Okay. This is a very hard-working, long-working group of people. Okay. The Nullamore Historical Society and Nullamore Heritage Centre is a worthy recipient of the Community Event of the Year Award for its outstanding organisation of the 100th anniversary celebration of the Offmore Home, which was originally built in 1925 as the matrimonial home of Henry and Rita Bennett. The event, held on the 17th of August, showcased what can be achieved by a dedicated and passionate group of volunteers committed to preserving and sharing Nullawood's rich local history. The celebration brought together the Nullarbor community and surrounding districts, with many locals contributing their time and skills to ensure the day ran smoothly and guests were warmly welcomed. Highlights included the stirring around of the bagpipes in tribute to Rita Bennett's Scottish heritage, and that was by Carolyn. The music in the Winston Church, historic machinery displays, working engines and traditional hospitality, with visitors travelling from near and far. The event successfully celebrated heritage, community spirit and togetherness, making a truly deserving winner of this award. And I was there, and honestly, it's the best afternoon tea I've ever eaten. And so congratulations. Who's your main person?
Wendy.
There you go. Thank you. And you can have Barry.
Yes, he's watering geraniums.
Now you have something to say.
No, yes, may I?
Off you go.
Thank you. I have something prepared because I'm not representing myself. I'm representing an organisation of which I am immensely proud. So, I will start. We greatly appreciate the recognition of the Buloke Shire, which celebrates the commitment and spirit of our volunteers. The Nullarbor Historical Society, as Bernadette said, runs the Heritage Centre, and we benefit tremendously from the energy and generosity of these people you see in front of us. And this was evident on the 17th of August, the centenary celebration of our Arkmore homestead. What we did on that day has been outlined, but we as volunteers, it just doesn't happen. We spent countless hours doing it, and we've had countless cups of coffee and tea and meals, and it has become our very special place for us as volunteers. And as I said, I'm immensely proud. So I would like to thank the Buloke Shire for acknowledging us, and we accept that award and are very grateful. Thank you.
Just to, ladies and gentlemen, just to deviate a little bit, what I said earlier about the quality of applications or nominations for that award. When you see the list, it shows that there's quite a lot going on, and as I said, there's quite a lot that has happened that's not recognised on that list. So just because you're not the winner in that particular category doesn't mean that what you did wasn't very worthwhile. So congratulations to the other nominees, and thank you very much for what you do in your community and for providing entertainment and opportunity for people of our community. So thank you one and all for that. So we move on to the next section. And Buloke is fortunate to be home to a vibrant and innovative generation of young people. These people make a real difference in our communities. To present the 2026 Young Citizen of the Year Award, please welcome Councillor Stephen Barrett and Councillor Bruce Stapley.
Thanks, folks. With great pleasure that I sort of up here today to give a little bit of a background to some of these young people that have come forward and done great work within the community. I don't know a lot of them myself. I've met a couple. I don't know them all, but anyway, I know there's plenty of young people out there that do a great job in our shire. Some of them don't get recognised all the time, but I would say to those people, if you're not here today, still put your hand up for next time, and those people out there that are in the community, nominate these young people because they are the backbone of this shire. They, although they don't get recognised a lot, we hammer, some of us hammer our young people. We say they don't do this, they don't do that, but there's some good people out there that do, and they don't get the opportunity like they do, you know, down Melbourne Way. They've got transport, they've got education, they've got all those things down there, but up here they sort of limited, but they still put their time in to different events. So I commend them on that, and that's just a little bit outside of the official blurb, if you like. But I just want to put my spin on it. So, as I say, Buloke is a community built on hard work, dedication and a strong sense of pride. And our young people play a vital part in shaping our future. Across our shire, many young residents give their time, energy and passion to make a positive difference in the lives of others. To tonight's nominees, and indeed to all our young people who contribute much to our community, thank you. And I mean that sincerely. The nominees for Young Citizen of the Year are Charlotte Stewart, a dedicated community volunteer involved with the Rex Theatre. You know, I won't get this name right, but you know, five ago, and I know I didn't get it right, but anyway, and the Charlton Pony Club, who provided outstanding service during the 22 floods and the COVID-19 pandemic, and has demonstrated strong leadership through school and youth advisory roles. We also have Fletcher Holmes Brown, an active young leader with an extensive involvement across local and state youth and arts groups, including Buloke Youth Advisory, which I have met young Fletcher. Charlton Arts and Young Voices Victoria, and recognised as a finalist in the 2025 VCE Leadership Awards. We also have young Jessica Fawcett, the 2026 school captain, a dedicated and reliable volunteer, supporting numerous community events over many years, including junior tennis coaching, netball, canteen, umpiring, club catering, Nullarbor senior citizens activities and Witchy Creek youth group programs. Thank you all to those nominees, and I'd now like to hand over to Bruce Stafford, Councillor Bruce Stafford, to tell everybody the winner of this nice award. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. It's my great privilege to announce the Buloke Shire Council Young Citizen of the Year for 2026 is Fletcher Holmes Brown. Fletcher has been named Young Citizen of the Year for his outstanding contribution to the Buloke community through his extensive voluntary roles, including the Buloke Youth Advisory Group, Buloke Freezer Group, Charlton Youth Group, Charlton SLC, the Rex Film Selection Committee, Vice President of Charlton Arts and Secretary Young Voices Victoria. What do you do with your spare time?
Annoy mum and dad.
Beyond his community service, Fletcher's demonstrated strong academic leadership, being recognised as a finalist in the 2025 VCE Leadership Awards. His involvement is defined by consistency, initiative and a genuine commitment to supporting young people in the community.
Fletcher actively amplifies youth voices, shaping inclusive and meaningful programs through multiple advisory and leadership roles. He's also contributed creatively and culturally, including his work with the Charlton Arts and the Rex Film Selection Committee, and by delivering community guitar lessons through the Charlton Neighbourhood House, making arts and skills accessible to everyone. Known for always stepping up to volunteer, Fletcher can always be relied on, whether it's selling raffle tickets, helping to run youth events, or supporting local initiatives. He exemplifies responsibility, leadership, and a genuine passion for improving the lives of others. His work strengthens youth engagement, community connection, and local participation, ensuring young people have a voice in decision-making and access to opportunities that matter to them. Fletcher's dedication has made the Buloke community more vibrant, inclusive, and youth-focused. His energy, creativity, and commitment truly embody the spirit of the Young Citizen of the Year. Congratulations, Fletcher, on being Young Citizen of the Year for 2026, and we look forward to you doing great things in the future.
I'd just like to say a few words. First of all, I'd like to start off with a big congratulations to all the amazing nominees and unrecognised community leaders, especially the youth. Now more than ever, young leaders are needed in Buloke. Thank you also to Tori Tilley for the nomination. I couldn't have got this award without your nomination. Thank you to close friends and collaborators in Dusty, Quinny, Poppy, Libby, the rest of the Buloke, gotta remember it, Buloke Youth Advisory Group, the LEN, the Charlton Arts Committee, and the Young Voices Board. Thank you to the community organisations, groups and committees and individuals who've allocated resources, time and plenty of fuel to be able to get me to my destinations and to help facilitate community projects. This being the LEN, Charlton Neighbourhood House, Charlton Arts, Charlton College, especially Mum and Dad. Thank you to my family, with special honourable mention to my personal stylist, Anita, little sister, who this afternoon somehow managed to turn my unibrow into two distinguished eyebrows. An extra special thank you to my mum, who is the only person in this room who is too humble to recognise that her efforts are far more reflected in this award than what mine are. 3 years ago today, we were told that I would have to give up on my dreams to look after my health, and that schooling and participation in sport were not part of my plan for recovery. And I can say that 3 years later, we are bloody glad to not have taken that advice.
I think I might give him the job.
We'll probably take it eventually.
We have seen him at council briefings on a number of occasions, presenting for youth, which we look forward to those sessions. But again, I say to the other two nominated people, congratulations on being nominated. Congratulations on what you've achieved. I noticed in the nomination that came with Charlotte Stewart that she's actually represented Australia a couple of times overseas in horse events, so which doesn't get a mention there in the short blurb, but certainly got a mention in the long blurb. So, all three very well rounded people and very worthy of their nomination. So, with people like that coming forward, our future, if we can keep them in the bush, is in good hands.
They do come back, Graham.
They do come back, yeah. Yeah, they do. So our last item tonight is the Citizen of the Year Award, and that recognises an individual whose dedication, leadership and service have made a lasting and positive impact on our community. To present the 2026 Citizen of the Year Award, please welcome Councillor Alan Getley.
Sorry again, Alan.
That's all right. I've got to read a bit down the bottom where it says I had to do it. But it's good to have ex-mayor standing beside me, having it back. Citizen of the Year Award in Buloke has consistently recognised community champions who selfishly give their time and energy for the benefit of their local communities and the wider Buloke Shire. Nominees for Citizen of the Year are Brian Bales, a dedicated Ambulance Victoria member for over 30 years, attending over 1,600 cases and long-time volunteer umpire for cricket and various other sports. Brian's a resident of Donald. Bill Freeman, who is in the crowd, an active community leader for decades, involved with Charlton RSL, Rotary and Charlton Arts, a passion for table tennis. A passion for table tennis saw that Bill was awarded the Country Lifetime Achievement Award, recognised alongside his 50-year service award. And can I just tell you, he keeps a little box beside his jar beside his bed that he collects his $2 coins in, and the Watching Panthers Cricket Club, as well as Charlton Cricket Club, were the beneficiary of that this year, and we generously he gave us $384. So, out of his $2 jar. So if you don't win the award, Bill, thank you very much for that. We have Jenny Newell, Chair of Advanced Sea Lake Incorporated, driving community projects including Silo Night activation, Lake Tyrrell Tourism, Sea Lake Community Plan, airstrip upgrades, CPR first aid training and streetscape beautification with a focus on health, safety and community development. We have Judy Living, a dedicated Birchip community member, legacy legatee for over 12 years, advocates for veterans' families, has been a Birchip Cert volunteer, nurse, RSL treasurer, business co-owner and is active in the local choir. We have Kerry Barrett. Kerry has dedicated over 30 years to the Colgoa community, supporting the development group, community co-op, primary school council, Soldiers Memorial, History Hub and Buloke Tourism Board. She has led projects from World War I commemorations to kindergarten programs, organises community events and champions local initiatives to keep Colgoa thriving. And last on the list we have Michael and Joanne Brady, both tireless community leaders and cancer survivors who have raised thousands for charity, led major Nandaly organisations, supported youth sport and tourism on the Buloke Tourism Board, and created a strong and supported community through decades of service. I will hand over to Councillor Getley to make the official announcement.
Good on you, thanks Graham. It's with great pride and pleasure that I announce the winner tonight, someone I have worked with over a long period of time. It's Jenny Newell. Since joining Advanced Sea Lake in 2020 and becoming the chairperson in 2022, Jenny has been the driving force behind the projects that have strengthened the community, and her pride in her community just oozes out of her at every meeting, every event you go to. That's not written down here, that comes from me. Improved local infrastructure, and she was instrumental in delivering the Silo Night activation and that's a magnificent thing. If you haven't had a chance to see that, get up there and do it. Ensuring Sea Lake and the surrounding towns are showcased in a way that attracts visitors and supporters to the local community. Jenny has also played a key role in the development of Lake Tyrrell, advocating for improved access and visitor safety and working closely with the tourism board bodies and council to strengthen Sea Lake as a regional tourist destination. Her leadership extends to the Sea Lake community, got the wrong town there, might be where I live. Sea Lake community and advocate for the upgrade of the Sea Lake airstrip. We had a very lovely day out there a short while ago looking at those facilities. A vital facilities for emergency services and regional firefighting efforts. In 2024, Jenny led the Call, Push, Shock campaign, delivering CPR and defibrillation training across the community, facilitating the installation of an additional defibrillator and advocating for improved ambulance facilities, directly contributing to the health and safety of the Sea Lake community. Nearly said Charlton again. Jenny also led the Sea Lake Streetscape project, and if anybody else has driven a project that's had harder in any part of the community, I don't know about it. Improved the town's appearance and amenities and continues to champion the beautification and heritage projects. She's also a tireless supporter of the community events, ensuring they remain free and accessible to all. Having served the community for nearly 4 decades and previously recognised as a Sea Lake Citizen of the Year in 2004, Jenny continues to lead with vision and humility and dedication. Jenny is an outstanding person who gives so much of herself and her time to the community, those around her, and I congratulate her on the Buloke Citizen of the Year for 2026.
I have prepared something in case I was given this honour as a nominee. But firstly, Mayor Milne, councillors, council staff and community members. I'm actually very emotional and accepting this honour, having listened to all the other nominees, and I know there are so many hardworking, worthy community members, the nominees and many others in our Buloke Shire. And I think that we are all very lucky to live in this Shire and work together as we do. Firstly, I'd like to thank Monique for her extremely motivating and inspirational presentation. As a nurse, I was just so inspired by you, and also having had children grow up here, I agree with you so much that it's so great to be able to give our children the ability to grow and learn in this Shire. I think it's wonderful that you focused on cardiac health, particularly for women. It's such an important area, and also just amazing that you're offering the clinic in Charlton. It's just so good. So thank you. I'd also like to congratulate the fellow award winners, Nullarbor Historical Society and Heritage Group, I think you're called. Amazing effort. So congratulations, and also to all the other nominees in that group. And I'd also like to congratulate Fletcher Holmes Brown. You're just an amazing speaker, you're putting me to shame. You just spoke off the top. And so congratulations on all you've done, and obviously got such an amazing future. And also congratulations to the other nominees for the Young Citizen. I'm truly honoured and very humbled to receive this award, and I'm deeply grateful for it. For those who don't know me, I'm not actually a local. I've only lived in the Mallee for 40 years. So I may be still considered a blow-in.
I moved to Sea Lake in '86 when I married Jeff, and together we have farmed and raised our 4 sons here. Despite the droughts, mice plagues, dust storms, and the many challenges of farming and living in the Mallee, I've grown to love this area and the strong communities we enjoy. I'm also very fortunate to have always had Jeff's support. As a nurse, I feel very passionately that people living in rural areas deserve the same timely access to medical services, and particularly in emergencies, when every moment counts. This is something I will always continue to advocate for, not just for Sea Lake, but across the Buloke Shire. Community work has never felt like something I've done alone, and I don't see this award as belonging just to me. Much of what I do is about organising, bringing people together, and helping ideas turn into action. At times it can be challenging, as many of you would know. Organising community projects and events requires a great deal of volunteer time, patience and persistence, but it is always worthwhile. Seeing our town grow and improve and working to boost tourism by attracting visitors to enjoy all that Sea Lake and Buloke Shire has to offer is a real passion of mine. Helping organise community CPID fit training sessions for all ages and organising events such as the annual Christmas party is incredibly rewarding and important to me. But nothing gives me greater satisfaction in my community work than seeing the joy on children's faces when Santa arrives on the fire truck. As Chair of Advance LAP, I've been incredibly fortunate to work with a supportive and dedicated committee. Their willingness to give their time, share the workload and step up when needed makes all the difference. This award reflects their contribution just as much as mine, and I thank them sincerely. I'd also like to acknowledge the many local groups who play such an important part in our communities. The CFA, Men's Shed, Lions Club, schools, local ambulance officers, footy groups and other organisations whose volunteers give so generously of their time. Your contribution is invaluable. Living in a rural farming area, we understand the importance of working together. Our strength comes from cooperation. I strongly believe we achieve the best outcomes when we take a Shire-wide approach rather than focusing on individual towns. And this was clearly demonstrated at the 2025 Buloke Rodeo. Our community spirit is truly our greatest asset, whether it's supporting local initiatives or showing up when it matters most. This was especially evident during the recent Sea Lake devastating town fire, when the CFA, locals and volunteers banded together to protect our businesses and minimise damage. I'd also like to acknowledge our councillors, council staff and the many local organisations I work with regularly. Your collaboration and ongoing support help turn community ideas and needs into reality, and I truly value these partnerships. Finally, thank you to all the volunteers across our Shire, especially those who work quietly behind the scenes. Community projects simply don't happen without you. Let's continue working together to make our towns and our Shire even stronger and more resilient. Thank you again for this honour. I'm very grateful and truly appreciative. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jenny. And as I've said, for the past 2 rounds of awards, there's some outstanding people in that list of nominations. And it's a shame we can't give an award to everyone every year for what they do. Certainly, my personal experience is that I know all of the nominated people. In a lot of cases, their families and what they've done in community to bring their community, or to keep their community going, to bring it alive, and to share it with anybody and everybody that wants to come along and be part of it. So again, I say, and it's a little comfort, I guess, if you haven't got the certificate, but congratulations on what you do, what you've done, and and hopefully you will continue to be a big part of your communities going forward. And hopefully as we said with our young people, we've got some great role models in this list and lists that have been presented in years gone by of people who can just offer so much to our younger folk and to new folk in town that just need that little bit of direction to get them kick-started and get them going. So congratulations to all those nominees, and thank you to the nominators for taking the time to put them up. That is the close of the official proceedings, ladies and gentlemen. However, I've just got a couple of things that I'd like to share with you, I guess, and they've both been touched on tonight. One by Monique in her little, it wasn't a little talk, it was a good talk, big talk, very powerful talk. And it's also been touched on by a number of speakers, and I refer to volunteers and community spirit. Monique suggested that this Shire over the last few years has been put under a great deal of pressure by renewable energy companies and the push to have that come forward. Now, I'm not. What happens, but my message tonight is that while these things are forced on us, people have the right to make decisions and to do what they think is right. People also have the right to object and say what they think. We've seen that quite passionately throughout Buloke Shire, and I think it's healthy. What I don't like is the degree of negativity that's been floating about in some communities, and I urge all our communities to think about that. Pull yourselves together as a community and as a Shire and work through these things. That it's not going to be easy. The outcomes won't be what everybody wants, and some will be disappointed, some will be happy. But the thing that hurts me the most is the breakup of communities and families that we are seeing within our areas, and some areas are hit harder than others. So my wish and my message going forward is that we work with each other, not against each other. We know there'll be differences, we understand that, and we commend the people who speak out against what they don't want, and we commend the people who speak up for what they do want. But at the end of this, my one wish is that we come out of it still with communities intact, families intact, and a better situation for all of us. As I say, not everybody's going to be happy, but it is life, unfortunately. So with those few wise and unpolitical words, Mr. CEO, I wasn't allowed to get too political, he said. We come to the end of tonight's proceedings, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you all for attending. It's a fantastic turnout, a great facility, and thank you to Charlton Park for the availability of this facility. And I think we've hit a couple of days where the weather's not too bad, as I was saying earlier, to get people to come out. You want everything in your favour, and the weather's been good for that tonight. So congratulations to all the award winners. As I've said a number of times, one winner, but many worthy nominations in the three categories. It's always wonderful to celebrate the achievements of so many people in and amongst the rest of us, who sometimes are involved with those people who are in awe of what they do and how they get it all done. So thank you to those people. Thank you to Monique. And a round of applause again for Monique's little talk that's so It proves that from the country, little things grow, big things grow, and good things happen. So it is an inspiration to hear what you've done, Monique, and what you've achieved, and your gratefulness and gratitude that you showed throughout your speech to people that that helped you along your way. It was just fantastic, and we wish you all the best with your endeavours here in Buloke, and thank you very much for coming back to do that in Buloke, and hopefully there'll be a lot of beneficiaries from your expertise and your positive can-do attitude. So. I think Dan offered thanks to Brodie Glenn early in the night, but Brodie provided a little bit of light entertainment over there during some of our breaks, and an accomplished singer and musician, Brodie. Thank you very much for popping along, and can we thank Brodie for his efforts. Still got that CD that we were playing that night you were running out the road. Don't worry about that, it's got a few scratches on it, but we've still got it. Big thank you to staff. We've got them sitting up here, we've got them floating around over there, there's some here, there and everywhere. These things don't happen without organisation, and while I think Georgia might have been thrown in the deep end because somebody normal that normally does this might be on annual leave, but Georgia, can we thank you very much for your special effort in putting together tonight's proceedings, and ticking everything off as it changed at the last minute, last hour, minutes before. And to the other staff, to all our staff, and while singling out one is sort of not fair, but we do need to mention special efforts, but to all our staff that have had anything to do with preparing for tonight and getting keeping this show as important and as relevant as it has been, thank you very much. To our special guests that have popped along, great to have you. Our press, a number of both our papers, probably more than that are here. We've certainly got good coverage within our district of what the Shire gets up to, and we've got certainly with the North Central News Herald. That'll do. Herald, North Central, whatever, yep. I buy it every week, but I can't remember the name. And our Buloke Times, all under new management. And certainly the Buloke Times is, after 150 years in the one continuous family, has been handed to Candice here. And we congratulate you on taking that on, and as well as Alex for taking on the job down there. And we think that we get a good run out of the paper. So that's a tip to say we want that to continue. But anybody and everybody else that's been along and to go, Lord, thank you for coming along and representing Jade and any other of our leaders who couldn't be here tonight. It's nice to be able to have someone here, and thank you for participating in the ceremony, citizenship ceremony, when was sprung on you at the last minute, but we appreciate that. To fellow councillors, thank you all for being here and doing what you have done tonight. Great that we can include you all in the proceedings, and that you all were parcel of it. Even though somebody might have got to introduce one.
Sorry, Councillor Gedley. I'll wear a brighter shirt next year, so you can see.
So one mark against the CEO at this stage. Anybody else has got any more? I'm counting. But look, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I won't bore you any longer, but great turnout. Thank you for being here. We can put on a show, but if nobody turns up, it doesn't happen. So, and don't forget to attend your local Australia Day events. Just get a little whisper, don't forget. The Australia Day events this weekend in your towns, and certainly, but not least of all, that Donna, who provides that food. Isn't she unreal? So Donna and a number of other providers provide food throughout the year for council and events, and we're lucky to have some good providers in that space. So maybe the Culgoa store might have to do it next year. Mallee Bunker, that's it. Yep. Just want you to say. But no, so thank you very much for everybody that's participated, everybody that's contributed, and enjoy your Australia Day. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.